In this session, we will focus on the important examination questions from the topic of Contract of Indemnity and Guarantee under the Indian Contract Act, 1872. 1. Explain the concept and scope of a contract of indemnity under the Indian Contract Act, 1872. 2. Define a contract of indemnity and identify its essential elements. 3. Discuss the nature and extent of liability of the indemnifier with suitable illustrations. 4. Explain the concept and features of a contract of guarantee. 5. Define a contract of guarantee and distinguish it from a contract of indemnity. 6. What are the essential requirements for a valid contract of guarantee? 7. What is a continuing guarantee? Explain its features with examples. 8. Explain the nature of surety's liability and its coextensive character. 9. Discuss the duration and termination of surety's liability, including revocation of continuing guarantee. 10. Explain the rights available to a surety against the principal debtor, creditor, and co-sureties. 11. Discuss the extent of surety's liability under the Indian Contract Act. 12. Explain the various modes of discharge of surety's liability with illustrations. Now the important examination questions of bailment and pledge. 1. Explain the concept and definition of bailment under the Indian Contract Act, 1872. What are its essential elements? 2. Discuss the duties of the bailer and bailee towards each other under the law of bailment. 3. Explain the rights of the bailer and bailee with suitable illustrations. 4. Examine the legal position of a finder of lost goods as a bailee under the Indian Contract Act. 5. What is the liability of a finder of goods towards the true owner? 6. Examine the rights of a bailee. 7. Evaluate the various kinds of lien held by the bailee. 8. What are the duties and liabilities of a bailee? 9. Explain the duty of the bailee to take reasonable care of the goods bailed. 10. Under what circumstances can a bailee or finder of goods dispose of the goods? 11. Define a pledge and distinguish it from a bailment. 12. Discuss the importance and commercial utility of pledge transactions in modern business. 13. Define pledge under the Indian Contract Act and explain its essential elements. 14. Explain the rights of the pawner and the pawnee in a contract of pledge. 15. Compare the pawnee's right of sale with that of an ordinary bailee. 16. Discuss the provisions relating to pledge by non-owners, including mercantile agent, person. 17. In possession under voidable contract, person with limited interest. 18. Elaborate the difference between bailment and pledge. 19. Examine such condition when bailee not responsible for loss, destruction, or deterioration of the things bailed. 20. Write an essay on rights of finder of goods. 21. Discuss the essentials of pledge. 22. Analyze the term pledge. Now the important examination questions from agency. First, who may be an agent? Second, explain the authority of an agent under the contract of agency. Third, write a short note on various modes for creation of an agency. Fourth, what are essentials of agency? Fifth, express the agent's authority in an emergency. Sixth, write an essay on agency by ratification. Seventh, up to what extent an agent can exercise his power. Eighth, define agency. 9th. Demonstrate the subagent and substitute agent. Explain the differences between them. 10th. Identify and explain different kinds of agency transactions in day-to-day commercial life with examples. 11th. Discuss the various kinds of agents and types of agency relationships recognized under law. 12th. Distinguish between an agent and a servant with relevant examples. 13th. What are the essential elements required to constitute a valid agency relationship? 14th. Explain the various methods of creation of agency, including express, implied, necessity, estoppel, and ratification. 15th. Discuss the rule delegatus non potest delegare and explain its exceptions. 16th. Explain the duties and rights of an agent towards the principal. 17th. Discuss the scope and extent of an agent's authority, including actual and apparent authority. 18th. Discuss the liability of the principal for acts of the agent, including cases of misconduct and torts committed by the agent. 19th. Explain the liability of an agent towards the principal for breach of duty or negligence. 20th. Under what circumstances is an agent personally liable to third parties? 21st. Discuss the various methods of termination of an agency contract. 22nd. Explain the liability of the principal and agent before and after termination of agency. Important questions from Partnership Act. First, discuss about the term partnership as given in Section 4 of Partnership Act. Second, elaborate the implied authority of a partner. Third, can minor be admitted to the benefits of partnership? If yes, what are the rights and liabilities of such a minor after attaining majority? Fourth, discuss the ingredients of partnership. Fifth, examine the rights and liabilities of such a minor after attaining majority. Sixth, evaluate the term partnership and its ingredients. Explain all ingredients with suitable case laws and examples. Seventh, is sharing of profit conclusive proof of partnership? Eighth, write the various modes of dissolution of the firm and liabilities of the partners after dissolution. Ninth, argue the mutual rights and liabilities of the partners in a partnership firm. 10th. Define partnership under the Indian Partnership Act, 1932 and explain its nature and essential features. What are the general duties of partners? 11th. Discuss the mutual rights and duties of partners inter se. 12th. Explain the implied authority of partners and discuss their powers in emergency situations. 13th. Discuss the liability of partners for acts of the firm, including joint and several liability. 14th. Explain the doctrine of holding out with illustrations. 15th. Discuss the rights and liabilities of incoming and outgoing partners. 16th. Explain the kinds and consequences of dissolution of partnership. Discuss the registration of firms and the effect of non-registration. Important questions from Sale of Good Acts. First, analyze the term sale. Second, elaborate the contract of sale how made. Third, evaluate the doctrine of caveat emptor. Fourth, explain the ingredients of sale. Fifth, examine the conditions as a stipulation under the sale of goods. Sixth, evaluate the conditions when property in goods transferred from seller to buyer. Seventh, examine the term warranty in the matter of sale of goods. Eighth, write the differences between sale and agreement to sale. 9th. Argue the rights of unpaid seller against the goods. 10th. Explain the concept of a contract of sale and discuss its essential elements under the Sale of Goods Act, 1930. 11th. Discuss various types of contracts of sale of goods with suitable examples, sale, agreement to sell, hire purchase, etc. 12th. Explain the implied conditions and warranties in a contract of sale. 13th. Discuss the rule of caveat emptor and explain its exceptions under the Sale of Goods Act. 14th. Examine the modern developments and changing trends in the doctrine of caveat emptor. 15th. Explain the meaning and effect of implied warranties in a contract of sale. 16th. Discuss the rules relating to transfer of ownership and passing of risk in a contract of sale. 17th. Explain the rules relating to delivery of goods, including types and modes of delivery. 18th. Who is an unpaid seller? Discuss his rights against goods and buyer. 19th. Explain the remedies available to buyer and seller for breach of contract of sale.